Hello one and all, it's Matsimus here with you again today. Thank you so much for joining me. I am still recovering from this nasty freaking cold. It is killing me off, I am sick of it, but it is still here for the stay, so I apologise if I sound like I, once again, have been punched in the face like I deserve. Guys, it's coming up to Christmas, so I'm going to say Christmas to those who are highly triggered for not saying Happy Holidays, because for some reason in this country, we are obsessed with saying holidays. I've never said holidays in my life, and I don't intend to today, so Merry Christmas for those coming up to the day. I probably will push out another couple of videos, maybe a Merry Christmas video, who knows. But one thing, as us soldiers know when going on Christmas leave, is some things tend to get sidelined a little bit. We tend to do a lot more drinking, a lot more eating, a lot more partying and having fun, some more fun than others, and we sideline our fitness a little bit. It's just part and parcel of going on Christmas leave, or if you're a civilian, it's, you know, it's Christmas time, we're there to have fun, have party. However, as soldiers, we have to maintain our fitness, and I just thought I'd do a little bit of a video today on one key topic or question that I constantly get asked. The question is, Matsimus, I'm about to join the army, what sort of fitness do I need to do to prepare myself to go through training, or to go through my particular service or branch or cause, routine training, or even deployment? Now, this is a huge topic. Fitness in the armed forces, I could talk about it all day. I was actually a training instructor in the British Army, being able to deliver PT lessons to my troops. To the dismay of many, yes, PTIs were hated among the British Army for the fact that really they just ruined your day when you woke up with a hangover and they told you you had to go on a 6-mile run. However, I thought I'd give a little bit my take on what I find to be quite funny when it comes to fitness, especially in the army side of things. Now, everybody has their own levels of fitness, of course, but there's also different levels of fitness to each kind of thing that you're doing. For instance, going on long-distance runs, for the most part, should be quite a basic thing when going into the military or army, especially the army. You're going to be doing a lot of running, so get used to it. And if you can't run long distances, you best get practicing. And funnily enough, a lot of people are very, very good at it. They do a lot of practicing of long distance, sprints even, fartlek training, interval training. But the one thing that we all seem to neglect and not realize we have to really get our fitness set up for is individual battle PT, otherwise known as individual fire and maneuver or section attack PT. Basically, this means that you need to be able to maneuver yourself, your gun, your equipment, ammunition, and any other support weaponry or, equipment, say as radios or mortar base plate, whatever it may be, with you on the battlefield. Now, of course, these gentlemen firing these firearms right now are on simulated section attack or individual fire and maneuver exercises. This is something that we just don't prepare ourselves for, because it's something that you don't get to do really prior to getting into the armed forces, unless you're, in the cadets and such, which is a whole different ball game. I'm not even going to touch base on the cadets because, a lot of you get very upset with it. But at the end of the day, if you're a normal everyday standalone civilian, you don't have the opportunity to jump on a pile of equipment, grab your rifle, go for a run and start practicing these kind of drills. And honestly, you don't really need to. However, there are things that you can do to make your life a lot easier when it comes up to these kind of tasks, because I won't lie to you fellas and girls, this kind of PT is the more demanding of any kind of PT you'll ever experience in your entire life. I don't care if you can run on a running track for 10 minutes as fast as you possibly can. Great for you. I'm going to chuck some chest rig on you, a chest plate, plate carrier, whatever it may be, some extra ammunition, a helmet, tight pants, tight boots, tight jacket, all with your rigging attached to you, and a rifle, and make you sprint as quick as you can around that running track and see how well you do. Almost guarantee you're not going to do as well. That is because our bodies are not naturally used to carrying such restrictive kind of equipment, heavy equipment, and overall just bloody awkward. If you've ever run with a rifle at high speed, it can be quite difficult for the fact that you're not used to carrying something that heavy, even though it's not really that heavy, but that awkward in your arms when trying to do sprints. You've also got to remember there's a huge concern when it comes to safety when operating firearms in a fitness level environment, because if you are absolutely breathing out your hoop when you get to that firing position after sprinting down to it and cannot look through your sights or not operating your firearm correctly, you're going to be in a world of trouble. So at the end of the day, it's not about how well you perform, but also how safe you are on the range, because you want to have as much physical energy left inside of you to be able to perform the drills on the range effectively. So one thing I will say is, get practicing. Get started now. If you're in the military or in the army and you are not so good at these drills, there's a lot of things you can do to improve your skills and drills and to make you a lot more fit when going down the range. First and foremost, let's start off with running. I mean, it's the basic principle of when doing these kind of exercises, you're going to be running. No one really walks to the next firing position or when bounding, because that's not what bounding is. Bounding is getting to the next location as quickly and effectively and as much cover as possible to be able to engage the enemy. Now, notice how I said with as much cover as possible. Believe it or not, when you're doing your individual or even section battle attacks, whatever it may be, buddy-buddy system, you're going to have to utilize as much cover as possible. That includes ditches, hills, trenches, whatever it may be, crawling, kneeling, standing up, getting down, up, down, crawling, left, right, center. It is very demanding. It's not all about being able to run, left to right, serpentine and all that good stuff, zigzagging. It is about being able to get into a position, crawl around to it, get yourself dug in, pulling yourself out of trenches, crawling through ditches full of water, which is waterlogging your equipment and your clothes, making it tighter, making it more restrictive to your running. These are the kind of things you need to practice. If you have never run in boots, get starting. If you are going into the military, get some boots, some good boots, get them worn in, try your best to practice in them as much as you can. If you're joining a specific branch of the army, obviously make sure you're using the correct kind of boots that are for your branch. The British Army issued assault boot is my favourite boot, hands down. I've never had a single issue with it. A lot of people absolutely despise it. I loved it, and still to this day I actually wear them. To the dismay of many Canadian soldiers who have spent up to $200 on their fancy little shiny boots, I just got my hand-me-down army-issued assault boots, and I love them. But it's one thing you need to think about when doing this kind of activity. Individual or pairs fire maneuver requires a lot of sprinting, jumping, bounding, whatever it may be, and if your feet are in clip or you cannot run correctly with tight, stiff boots on, it's going to make your life a living hell. So just something to think about in the background. Also, when it comes to, taking cover and firing into a position or bounding, you're going to be able to get up and down all the time. Get practicing your press-ups, guys, or push-ups as they like to call them over in Canada. Start practicing push-ups, as many as you can. Don't just do the minimum, do the maximum. If you can get a small rucksack or backpack on your back, start practicing doing some press-ups and push-ups with a rucksack on with a bit of weight, because at the end of the day, when you're laying down in a firing position, eventually you're going to have to get back up again. Multiply that by, let's say 40 or 50 times, depending on the kind of individual pairs fire maneuver exercise you're going through, you are going to be exhausted. And getting those muscles into that muscle memory of getting used to lifting up and down is very, very important, because if you're able to get down but can't get back up, you're going to get a stiff boot in the back of the helmet to get you to move again from one of your instructors. The video I'm about to show you is going to annotate exactly how demanding and how difficult this could be. Imagine the weight that these gentlemen are carrying, the speed in which they are moving, and having to actually shoot at targets accurately, which means don't burn yourself out. There's no point sprinting to a position if you cannot directly aim at that target and put a round down range. Guys, this is a very, very good pairs fire maneuver, and honestly, I respect these boys wholeheartedly. Hopefully any of those you going into the armed forces, especially the infantry, can take a little bit from these gentlemen. So as you can see, those gentlemen were only bounding up to about 200 to 300 meters and only really in the kneeling position for the most part. I can almost guarantee if I was to walk up to those two young soldiers and see if they were out of breath, they would be out of breath. Not only for sprinting and running, adrenaline, just pumped, ready to go. And that takes its effect on your body too. Adrenaline does take its effect on you. It gives you a bit of a perk too. But unfortunately, after you start cooling down a little bit, the adrenaline kicks in and you start feeling a little dizzy. And if you're already out of breath, you really need to control that. One of the most important parts of, individual battle drills or, battle skills is being able to coordinate with your buddy or your oppo very, very effectively and quickly. That means being able to shout and communicate and still talk on the radio. If you're breathing out of your hoop because you are so tired, you're not going to be able to effectively communicate with your section, platoon, whatever it may be. That's really important, especially if you're going as a leader. You really need to focus on your fitness because no one wants to follow behind the guy who's hanging out of his hoop, who has no idea what he's saying on the net because he is so exhausted from trying to bound to the next firing position. So, let's talk about a couple of things that you can do to try and improve your overall fitness for this kind of training or this kind of battle drill. So, like most armies around the world, they tend to start you training from the small to the large, basic and then extreme. So, first of all, to get better at this kind of drill or this kind of fitness, you really need to work on that small stuff first. Get some boots on. Get some running pants or trousers on, whatever they may be, some old combat pants that maybe you bought from a surplus store. Chuck a t-shirt on, get some good boots that you know you're either going to get issued when you get into the army or that are similar to it, and start breaking those boots in, but most importantly, breaking those feet in. Your muscles in your feet are not used to sprinting around in heavy boots carrying a lot of weight. But, as mentioned before, let's start small. Get your boots on, get your running trousers, pants, whatever it may be, t-shirt, and let's start off with doing a couple of miles every day. And I mean every single day, just a couple of miles. If you can't do a couple of miles, bring it down 1 mile. If you can't do a mile, we got problems. But if you still can't do a mile, bring it down even more, half a mile. Keep trying to do in halves as best as you can. It does take time, but ideally you want to be doing at least once every day for a week. Okay, for 7 days, an entire week, 7 days. A good, steady pace. You don't need to be sprinting just yet. We're just breaking your legs into getting used to running in those kind of environments. The next thing you want to do after week 1 is your legs and muscles should be pretty much broken into, is have a good rest day. Do not overdo it, guys. Your legs need time to recover, especially if you've never done this kind of training before in heavy boots and pants and whatnot. You need to be able to get those muscles used to the kind of environments that they've been training in and give them time to heal up and get that protein and start running again next week. So, we've finished our rest day, we're on day 8. I would tend to, at this point, start practicing some interval training or fartlek training. I know that sounds very comical because I said fart. But yes, interval training is one of those things I love to hate. It's a very, very good bit of training for this kind of, setup when you're going into battle drills. But it is also very, very difficult, and rightly so, because it's going to be the exact same kind of environment you're going to be doing when doing these kind of drills. As you can see, this gentleman right here is working in either a section or platoon level, could be even company level, attack. Normally, when you're in company level, section or platoon level attacks, you are really going to be bounding either very long distances or extremely short distances, but lots of them, because you're working as a team, either peeling or trying to spread out your formation, maneuver your boys and girls around the battlefield as quickly as possible. This takes a lot of run, stop, run, stop, run, stop, run, stop, as you can see. That is exactly how interval training works. You are making your heart beat as quickly as possible and as hard as possible for a very short period of time, and then coming to a rest, and repeating and resting. Obviously, your heart is one big muscle, and muscles like to work in a pattern. If you are actually training your heart, and one of the greatest ways to train your heart is actually heart rate monitor training, which if I have the time, one day I'll do a video on, because I love heart rate monitor training. Hands down, if you want to improve your fitness overall, heart rate monitor training. Anyway, but I digress. Interval training. You need to make sure that you're training your heart to work very hard and then be able to recover. This is exactly what you're doing when doing battle drills. You're working extremely hard and then giving your heart time to recover enough to look down the sights and engage. We can improve this process on your body and improve your physical condition by repeating this process in a controlled environment instead of stressing out trying to do it once you're actually on the training area engaging targets. Interval training is pretty simple overall. You need to run very, very quickly or sprint, come to a jog halfway, and then come to a walk. You are working your heart very, very hard and then giving it time to recover and relax. This will increase your overall anaerobic and aerobic fitness. Anaerobic is key. because what tends to happen when we're in an environment like firefights and shooting is we hold our breath a lot, trying to look down the sights, you know, jumping across things or whatever else it may be. We kind of take that break to get down into a firing position, okay? That is reducing oxygen to your brain, not a good time, especially when trying to engage a target through a sight at long range. However, if you're very, very fit and your anaerobic fitness is very, very good, you're able to do that a lot better. If you don't know how to do interval training, there is a ton of sources online on Google. Check it out. One of the best forms that I tend to use is find yourself a soccer pitch, football pitch, whatever you want to call it, you North American buggers, and jog between one point to the next, so one corner to the next. Once you get to that next corner, you are to sprint to the next corner, and then come out of the run to a jog, and then finally to a walk. So you're basically doing a round robin 4-point circuit, and on each part of the course you're changing it from each pace. So from the beginning to the next point, you're going to be walking, just kind of getting your pace ready, which will actually be on your next lap, your recovery pace. You'll then be jogging to the next point, which will get your heart rate racing a little bit, and then you'll be sprinting to the next. Once you come out of the sprint, you'll be jogging again to try and bring your heart down steady. It is not a good idea, guys, to go from sprint to walk, because you need to give your muscles time to get rid of that lactic acid, and you also need to give your heart a bit of time to kind of naturally cool down. Still jogging gives you your body that time to kind of slowly digest that lactic acid that's been running through your calf muscles and your legs, and it's just a good natural pause, because at the end of the day, when you're going into battle drills too, the same kind of thing applies. When you sprint to a position, yes, you do stop, but for the most part, you should be crawling into your next covering position, or bounding into the next area, or changing positions so the enemy cannot relocate you. That is part of, I guess, your jogging or recovery jog cooldown. So it's just something to bear in mind. And then obviously you're going to go into your walk, which is your full recovery period, which is going to be obviously the time that you're going to be engaging targets, shooting the target down range and looking through your sights. We'll repeat this process normally, depending on your level of fitness, at least 10 times. On a standard sized football or soccer pitch, that is a lot of effort, guys, a lot of effort. Once you've done 5 laps, give yourself a good 2-lap walk cool down. Give your body time to relax, have some water, and get back to it. So interval training, that's kind of the way I do it. Everybody has their own way. Don't take my word for it. It's just the way I roll. It tends to work very, very well. Once you've done probably about a week of mixed between 2 to 3 miles of running with your boots on, just your boots on, and a few interval training sessions here and then, you're going to start to see very minuscule improvements to your fitness overall. You're going to have to repeat this kind of process for at least 3, 4, 5, even 6 weeks to really start feeling the benefits. What you really need to focus on is setting yourself a goal. Yes, you can't really practice running around with a rifle, you know, putting all your gear on all the time, but you can set yourself a beep test score. Beep tests are fantastic for this kind of training because it tests your overall aerobic fitness. And at the end of the day, the beep test is shuttles. You have to stop, turn around and come back. The pace increases as you go, just like a firefight or a battlefield would. You can see this gentleman right here, if I just shut up for a second. He is very tired, and he is fighting through in-depth positions, so of course he's going to be. The beep test is very similar to that. It starts off quite easy, you're very, very able to do most of the laps to get to the next beep or the next score, but later on it's going to get a lot harder. It's very similar to when you're going through an in-depth covering position or engaging long-range enemies that are going to keep popping up ahead of you and ahead of you. It's like it never ends, and it's one of the hardest parts of doing section attacks. Is where is the end sight, but it's a very similar kind of setting with the beep test. The beep test is also going to give you a benchmark for you to actually set yourself goals every few weeks or every month, whatever you want to do, to see how your improvement's going, because there's nothing more disheartening than not being able to see how much you've done and how well you're doing. So make sure you set yourself some kind of benchmark, testing, scoring, whatever it may be. You can even do long distance run and set yourself a time limit that you want to beat every 2 weeks, every week, whatever it may be. Okay, so now we're getting to the nitty gritty. We're starting to get to the more technical side of this kind of training. This is where you can start carrying some weight. If after 6-7 weeks you're getting really good at being able to do the sprints, runs, fartlek training, long distance runs with just your boots and combat pants on, it's time to start throwing some weight on your back. Do not take the piss out of this, guys. You can really hurt yourself. You need to start off with a comfortable rucksack or some kind of chest rig if you play airsoft or whatever that is lightweight. Remember, start off small and work up to the bigger, more technical stuff. We started with our boots and just combat pants on, getting our muscles and muscle memory used to that kind of training. Now we're ready to start putting some gear on. Don't think that because your fitness is at that level, you're ready to start throwing on 200-pound rucksacks, chest rigs, whatever else you guys own, and going for it. It's just not a good idea. Start small. Even if it's so easy for you, you're trying to get your body adjusted to wearing that kind of weight, and just start from the beginning. After a couple of weeks, if after wearing your rucksack with say 20 to 25 pounds is really no problem at all for you, let's double it up. Let's try 45 pounds, or if that's too much for you, adjust in increments that make you comfortable. Don't overdo it, work small. If you're wearing a chest rig or chest plates or practicing your airsoft kind of stuff, again, don't overdo it. You really want to make sure that you're getting comfortable with your muscles before you're getting comfortable with your actual aerobic fitness. Once you feel like you're wearing enough equipment that's really kind of testing your abilities and you're able to say, you know what, this is really similar to the kind of environment that I would be in the army or armed forces, whatever you're doing, now it's time to start getting really intricate. This is normally at around the 12-week period. We've really done quite a bit of training. We've done a few long distance runs, a little bit of interval training with a bit of lightweight rucksacks on and stuff. Now it's to start really pushing it up. This is where you need to do long distance interval training. I'm talking about 6-point areas, so like a football pitch, but multiply an extra couple of points on the pitch somewhere where you're doing more sprints and more recoveries. At the end of the day, you're going to want to start throwing more technical maneuvers in there too. Getting down on your belt buckle, getting into the kneeling position, crawling, getting back up again, sprinting, crawling, getting back up again. This is where interval training can really start to get spicy, should we say, because you can mix it up with all sorts of different intricate maneuvers or techniques you want to use. Start off again walking. Start walking with your equipment, you're comfortable, you're happy, get into a jog. This is similar to advancing into a contact or proceeding towards an enemy position. Next thing you want to do is to start crawling. Imagine you have been contacted or RTR and preparing to return effective enemy fire. You're going to start learning how to crawl, long distance, whether it be 50 meters. You're not really ever going to really crawl 50 meters if you're in a contact. You're under some severe strain if you are, but you're going to want to start practicing your crawling. Do 20 meters of crawling, get up, sprint for 20 meters, get back down, get back up, do a bit of a jog to cool yourself down, go into a walk, back into a standard patrol. That's what you want to be doing, guys. This is so testing, I can't even tell you how stressing it is. This is in a normal environment. Now just throw in having to hold a rifle, wearing your helmet, people screaming at you, people on the net giving you commands, maintaining your rifle, maneuvering, looking at where the enemy is, trying to get rounds down range. The pressure is huge. You want to be one step ahead of that game by being able to keep your fitness in check for able to engage the enemy effectively. If your fitness is good, your drills are going to be good, your communications are going to be good, and your procedures to engage the enemy are going to be very, very good. So, once you've done, say, up to about 14 weeks of this kind of training, that's where you really need to just, at that point, maintain it and continue pushing on those goals that you've set yourself with the beep tests, or maybe you've timed yourself to do the interval training. Really, guys, it's all down to personal preference, and if you need any more advice or support on this kind of training, please feel free to leave me a comment. I'd love to help you guys out. I do have my Discord back up now too, guys, so if you want to come chat with me on there and ask any kind of military fitness related questions, I'd be more than happy to help. Thank you so much for watching today. I apologize about my voice. It sounds like I'm getting a freaking potato shoved down my neck right now. But overall, I hope you took a little bit away from this, and if not, then, well, thanks for joining me anyway. Leave me a like, leave me a comment. If you feel the need to, feel free to subscribe to my channel on the button below with the little bell, and come join me for any more military-related content in the future. And I would really appreciate if you want to support me or my channel to check out my Patreon account. All the best, folks. Have a wonderful day, and bye-bye.